Fabulous. The wonders of modern technology. We've managed to replace the orange with blue. I've got Paul Raisbeck here. So I'm going to introduce you in a kind of, in a formal way, really. So because and it's fabulous to be able to have you on here today. We're doing something as a pilot. Excuse the pun. Yeah. He's a pilot. Because the start of my journey to doing this was sat having a beer with you. So in 2004, up at Soberton, this guy here, fabulous chap, incredibly smart, another business coach, Paul Raisbeck, ex-Navy. He's coming back into coaching, which is really good to see. But we met back in 2004. We sat and had a beer, and I was in due diligence, really. I was just about to spend tens of thousands of pounds, which you'd already been stupid enough to do as well. And it was really more around, should I spend the money? And I was determined to buy the car that much. It didn't really matter what you said. I was going to buy the car. And there was a bit, I don't know if it was reverse psychology, but I think the truth of it is back then it was tough. So I'm not suggesting it's not tough now, as an industry. So, we sort of dropped out of touch when you dropped out of coaching and went back into the Navy. And I can remember, it gave me a wobbly chin, finding on my doorstep one day, you'd left a second edition of Think and Grow Rich on my doorstep. Do you remember doing it? So, yeah. Which is on my bookshelf now. So, which was such a lovely thing to do. So I'm going to welcome Paul to having a chat. No different to Janet in that respect. I think probably the best thing to do. I've given you a bit of an intro, but is just tell us, let these, because they're, fairly new back into the circuit, I guess. Let these, I've used another flying term. Let these people know a little bit about your backstory. So I think it's probably the best thing to do.
Primarily in the Navy. Left the Navy, went to the defence industry. Didn't really sort of enjoy that. So found myself by an odd sort of, not coincidence, but by an odd route into coaching. Loved the coaching. But after a few years, I felt that I was doing something. There was something sort of I didn't understand internally in myself. So decided to put that back behind me. Went away for a couple of years, rethought it, and I've come back now with more of an understanding both of myself and actually also of the benefits and how coaching works more up here rather than purely on the business side. So you and I have talked. We both say we don't like the term business coach because we don't coach businesses. We coach people who have a business. And it's more that alignment now, which I feel more comfortable with, I think.
Again, it's something that we both talked about non-publicly about. There's almost a dislike to the term business coach, and it's trying to
trying to bring Google round to a new way of looking at it.
What can we call it? So because certainly when you're out networking, there is often a huff or an eyebrow raise. And I don't know whether it's a subject for us to talk about today, because we could probably go into it at length, but it's, it doesn't get the best rep. So, it just doesn't get good, certainly when you think about some of the results that it can bring, it doesn't have the best reputation, which is a sad thing to think, to say, really. So your Navy career, I think, there's some crossover for me, really. I certainly didn't do the length of time in the police that you've done in the Navy, and certainly didn't get to the level that you did, from a rank perspective. Is this, when I left the police force, I did think to myself, what on earth does driving a car fast and being able to disarm somebody with a gun, how is that going to help me in, being in business? But of course, as you start reusing some of those communication tools and leadership tools, so share maybe some of those things that are of great value to you that you can pass on as a coach to people that are in business. I'll be talking to Jane Brooks later. She's a police sergeant, 30 years. Yeah. I'll be having the same conversation with her. But I'd be really interested to know what some of your Navy skill sets are.
It's across the board. I've done a number of different jobs, all sorts of things, from sort of bomb disposal through to commanding a ship, and there's different bits and different elements come into all of it. But leadership, management, systems, processes, organisation, structure, two really important ones: climate and culture. Climate and culture. If you get the people right, and you get the feeling and understanding within a business and then within a team right, they will do things for you or do things with you that you didn't actually believe possible. And I'm stunned sometimes when you see some large businesses, even though that they don't understand that, and they don't get that understanding of, well, actually, I was talking to someone just the other day, and he said, we've had some team problems, and we haven't overcome them yet. And we've got this mentality of the team work for us. We pay them, they work for us. And that's what's, we've now realised that's what the stem of our problem is. And we're, okay, how long does it take you to get to that point? Yeah. But so all those things, and they all come together. And you know me as well. I love learning elsewhere as well. I mean, I've got two master's degrees, and I've never been to university, and then
MBA
and flying and all these things. And the great thing is that everything we do in life, it's got a link to something else. So you can take something that you do in flying and the structure around flying, and actually you can apply that into business. And equally, you can apply something from business into that as well. And whatever you're taking it, wherever you're taking it from, and you and I both know that sometimes you'll be doing something with one business, and you think that's a great idea, or I can actually move it. It'll be a construction business over there, and you can move it into an HR business over there, and these things can all just build together and carry over. Yeah.
So. I mean, I've been flying. We went gliding yesterday. Thank you for that. It was just amazing. So we had a great afternoon out. To be able to be towed up and to 4,000 feet and over an hour later still be in the air is pretty
gone
incredible.
Up and down a number of times.
Yeah. So, but one of the things that struck me yesterday when I was coming home, obviously I was thinking about today, but one of the things that struck me was how. Obviously, as an instructor, you're a pilot, gliding instructor, that the level of confidence and trust. I mean, I know you anyway, so obviously I trust you. But when you went into that sort of autopilot mode and terminology, phraseology, and the walkthrough, as we were putting parachutes and things on, ready to go crash a glider, was just. Very profound and really very clear. And I was thinking to myself how if ever you were sat with a business coaching client that is struggling and is trying to get to where they want to go, is that oozes out of you. So I'm because obviously I've never sat in with you on a coaching session. There's another conversation really. When I went to San Diego, I don't know. Have you ever done it? Have you been able to sit in with another coach who's coached?
I've done it briefly, but not
right.
recently.
So I did it a lot in America. It's a lot more open over there. And you can remember back from our franchise days. It was a very closed off. You can go and talk to coaches, but they won't let you in. Yeah. So, and so your first real experience of it is when you start to make it up for yourself. Yeah. So I was when we were getting ready to fly yesterday, I was really thinking about how. Confident and safe somebody would feel, not sat in a glider, but in a coaching environment with you. So, and I think that's that leadership bit that absolutely oozes out. You can't do that amount of time. I mean, what rank were you in the Navy?
Oh, just lieutenant commander, but just
a lieutenant commander. So you can't get to that rank without displaying levels of leadership, confidence, trust, all of those kind of things. And I do think that because of the modest pool that I know, some of that stuff isn't shared. It doesn't really come across until they get in front of you. And often it's trying to get people in front of you, to be able to share it. So I want to talk about old school, new ways. One of the things I did say we would talk about today is because I think you're in a very unique position. And one of the first things I said to you is if you're coming back into this industry, you need to be doing this. You need to get in front of cameras because 2004 it wasn't a thing.
It was very, very different.
Yeah. So and I think that is going to be a great way for you without physically sitting in front of somebody so that they can sense this level of trust and confidence that they would have in you. That you've got this medium now to be able to do it. So let's just talk about old school. I've ended up rambling on. But let's talk about old school, new way a little bit. So share with our viewer some of the things that you've seen already between that sort of time capsule back from when you were in this industry, early 2004, 2006, maybe 2007, and then coming back in and getting out networking, which is fabulous to see, some of the changes that you've seen?
I think this is the big change.
Right.
When we started out, Facebook didn't exist. There was a new thing called email marketing just coming in, and no one was really sure whether it would work or not. Yeah. And it was, we had to go. It was very manual. You had to be there. You had to be showing up. You had to be in front of somebody, whatever you were doing. I think now, as you see with this, your audience is everywhere, and it's a great ability. And I still haven't got my mind around it personally myself. I see what you're doing. And I'm thinking, whoa, okay. But it really has changed massively, and it's a mindset change. I think both for the coach and for the people being coached as well, to sort of get an understanding, because that then comes into what they're doing in their business and everything else. So it's huge difference.
Go into a bit more detail, because I promise you, our viewer will be doing stuff that you'll share that were being done back in 2004 or previous to that. And there will be people that watch this, and you'll share stuff with them that is no longer valid, but they're still trying to make that work. We meet them all the time. So, there are people that in the time that you've been back, that we network with, for 5 years, they're still using the same pitch. This is like the craziness of it. So I think it's, for me, over the 14 years, I've had to evolve, and, in fact, doing what we do, we have to try and be at the front end of this stuff. This is why we're sat here doing Facebook Live with 3 cameras. We're trying to be innovative. So, but I think it would be good for you to share some of the things like we were talking about there. So print. I don't want to steal it away from you. So, but what would you have done back then to have put people into a seminar, for example?
Well, I mean, back in the day, it was, you and I probably both remember, printing off, all the flyers going out, sticking the stamps on the envelopes, the labels, and everything else, sending out thousands of them, and getting, a handful of people in a room. Now, just you can turn that round, but it's got to be immediate. Janet earlier on was saying, speed is key. It's got to be immediate. It's also got to be present all the time as well. I'm now starting to feel I'm learning something off you. I think that I'm now starting to feel that if I'm not doing something, if I'm not, as you say, making a noise on a daily, if I miss a day, I'm starting to think, oh, hold on. A noise hasn't been made, so it's got to be there. It's got to be constant. It's got to be, because people's minds now. This is. I've started to term this. We went through the industrial age and the information age. This is the age of disruption, and there's so much going on. You've got to be doing something, which is not only disrupting what everyone else is doing as a standard, but disrupting that stream of information that's coming into someone else's mind, to cut into it, to make your message felt, or heard rather.
And that's how good this guy is, right? So that word disruptive is one of the keys now. So, and to come back and as quickly as you have done, start to, because I know we've talked about it, but I know you won't mind me sharing. Is this the difference in those 14 years? So from print, flyers, no social media as such. All those things are gone now.
But you still see people who are putting out really, really bad paper adverts.
And this is why I wanted you to share, because there'll be people. What I'm trying to do is get at them to sort of say, stop doing that. So you got to embrace all this new stuff. So and I'm always really honest. It's the sort of thing I would sort of pass on to you, if you like, in front of our viewer, is this. If you're trying something new out, especially with a client, I would absolutely put it on the table and say, well, let's try it. Who knows? I've said to Andy, that well, let's have a go. Let's see if this works. If it works, if we get 4 viewers and then we get 8 viewers and 20 viewers, then let's keep it going. So it is very much throwaway. We've got such a great opportunity nowadays to try stuff. We talked about some stuff yesterday that I'd love to see you have a poke at, really.
And the other interesting thing as well, I think, is that in the past we've all learnt from books. And I think a lot of people are still learning from books. And know you're writing a book, but you're not writing a book in that sense of here is a book on how to do sales for your business. Here's a book on how to do marketing. Actually, again, the disruption, the speed, it's all moving. So you've got to be doing stuff like this,
I think
getting it moving forward.
That's a massive takeaway from our chat is if you're not being disruptive, then you got and disruptive in a positive way, of course. Being disruptive to in a good way. I think that's a big key. The analogy I use is that we live in a world really where when we're trying to go to market, we're in a football stadium with 35,000 people and they're all shouting too. And what is it that you can do? Is it that you're wearing a big dicky bow tie and dressed as a clown, or is it that you're shouting or saying something that is completely different to everybody else, or wait until it goes quiet and then making a noise, or making more noise than they are? So it's just finding the ways to do it. And same as I said to Janet earlier, one of the keys here is finding ways to do it in a way that is different to anybody else, not necessarily from a USP perspective, but that makes you remarkable, that makes you stand out. And that's that disruptive word. So that people stop and say, well, what's going on there? So which is exactly what this is in essence, the TalkPod stuff. So
and the other benefit that all this brings as well is that when you're standing in that stadium before, you were shouting out at 35,000 people. Actually now you can stand in that stadium and you're shouting, but actually you're only shouting to 10,000 people because you can bring your message down, because your audience is no longer just Southampton or Portsmouth. Your audience is the world. You can actually niche down, right down to sort of the people you want to be in your tribe.
Advert time. So we've been sort of fairly honest about the fact that you're keen to get back and do some coaching work. This is a good guy. There are lots of bad guys, not bad guys, but guys that just I wouldn't recommend. You are definitely one of the good guys. As you know, completely abundant in all of everything that I do. I spoke about it earlier. So share. What would without using the cliche, what is it you're looking for today? What kind of clients, geographic, whatever. So anything that would help get you back and doing the stuff that I know that you're absolutely really good at. So,
well, I'm as you're aware, I'm splitting my time at the moment between Cheshire and Hampshire. So I'm heading off to my northern office this afternoon. So I'm working in both areas. What am I looking for? It's really just people who actually want to move forward. And when I say want to move forward, you've probably done exactly the same. You've sat in front of somebody and said, are you 100% committed to the coaching? And they've said, yes, absolutely. And some people sort of look at it and they almost see you come through the door and go, oh, that's great, I'll just I'll dump all my problems on this person, then it'll work. It won't. It's got to, the business owner has got to be fully behind taking ownership, accountability, responsibility, all those things of saying, you know what, actually, this is the point where I need to get ahead and do something. Or alternatively, ideally, that 20% who look beforehand and say, you know what, I've got to where I am now, let's bring people on, let's move things forward before we start dropping into the
I know that there is a raft of comments on the feed, and I'll get all of you to put your contact details on there. But are there some places that people can find you and go and cyber stalk you to find out a bit more about
Brent's Coaching on Facebook and Brents.com, BURENSE.com.
What does that... Tell me what the word is.
I'm not going to tell you now.
So you have to go and find it.
It'll be too long.
All right, okay.
It'll take too long.
So Brent's Coaching.
And
Facebook.
On Facebook, and then Brents.com is the website.
Okay.
And all the details are on there.
Right, fabulous. Check this guy out. Seriously, an amazing business coach and the start of my journey. So back in 2004. So
clearly didn't listen to me, did you?
I'm still driving that old banger. So still getting away with it. I'm waiting to get caught. So thank you for coming on. It's just like if this is going to be a thing, and we look back on it as the pilot. I'm just so glad that I was able to, because it reminds me when I went back to speak at Reading, about 3-4 years ago, and that's where I got made redundant from in 2003, and it was a real I loved going back there to give them the finger to sort of say, look what I've achieved after you laid me off, kind of thing. So it was for all sorts of reasons. It was really good that we were able, because I know you're going straight off to Cheshire, aren't you? So thank you for coming in and doing it. So right, so we're going to take another break, another 60 seconds, I reckon, and we're going to replace Paul with somebody that's extremely attractive, other than
I was going to say more attractive. Yeah,
but another business coach, and we'll introduce her once she's taken a seat. But thanks for coming on, and we'll no doubt catch up soon.
Indeed.
So
thanks for the invite.
Cheers. Bye.